all these things they will check in the exam. Now, the GMC checks whether you are a safe doctor or not in so many different ways. Here also, I was giving an example to see whether the doctor's bridge was a safe doctor or not. We'll discuss that later once I finish my examples. Okay. Now, imagine you're working as an SHO in the A&E department in the hospital, and you're seeing some patient in the A&E department. The nurse in the A&E department comes and tells you, doctor, we have a 30-year-old lady. We have a 30-year-old lady. She's waiting in the waiting area, and she says that she's complaining of headache. She says that she's got headache. Okay, let me give an exam scenario. Imagine that there's an exam. Exam says 30-year-old lady in the A&E department now. She's come to the A&E department. She's complaining of headache. You take history from her. Take history and tell your diagnosis to the examiner. Tell your diagnosis exam. Okay, imagine that's a question. Okay, so there's a 30-year-old lady. She's in the A&E department now. You take history and tell your diagnosis to the exam. Imagine that's a question in the exam. What I want you, all of you, to think of your own first diagnosis for this patient. When I say first diagnosis, means how many diagnoses you can think of? Anyone? I'm going to ask all of you about what is your first diagnosis for this patient. I'll be asking all of you one by one. Now, decide now yourself what you want to say, and don't change your answer just because somebody else told something else. Maybe they are wrong and you are right. All of you decided? All of you decided? Okay, keep it in your mind. Don't change it. Your first diagnosis. Meningitis.
Migraine.
Migraine. GC. Hypertension.
Migraine.
She might be taking
Just give me answer, one answer. Sorry?
side effect of migraine. GC. Migraine.
Migraine. Stress. Migraine.
Lady doctor.
Migraine. Meningitis. Cervical hemorrhage. GCA. Cervical hemorrhage. Fatigue headache. Migraine. Tension headache. Migraine. Fatigue.
Sir, will be in there.
Subarachnoid.
Migraine.
Tension headache.
Cardiac. Yeah, nearest.
Subarachnoid.
Cervical hemorrhage.
Migraine.
Online doctors, anybody want to answer this question?
Tension headache.
Good. Others?
Subarachnoid hemorrhage.
Okay, others?
Primary headache, including
Glaucoma.
Fine, okay. Cervical. Okay, fine.
Migraine.
Migraine. Fine. Okay, good, fine. Now, in the exam, they'll give you marks. The marks will be like grades, like A, B, C, D, and E. A, B, C means you passed. D and E means you failed. A is excellent. B is good. C is average, but you passed. D is failure, and E is severe failure. What do you mean severe failure? When do you get the severe failure? When do they give a severe failure? Like, what do you mean critical error? You kill the patient. If you kill the patient, Severe failure. Or in the exam, you went inside the cubicle and you told the exam, sorry, I don't know anything. You just said that. You did not do anything at home, and of course you'll be severe failure. That is E. Okay, so now you know what is the meaning of all these grades, A, B, C. Now people who said migraine as your first diagnosis, raise your hands please. Migraine. Nearly 50% of you said, or more than that, said migraine. So what do you think your grade should be? People who said migraine as your first diagnosis, what do you think your grade should be? A, B, C, D, E. Sorry? What did you say? What is your diagnosis? If you knew that you're going to get only C, if you say migraine is first diagnosis, why did you give the answer? People who said migraine, but what do you think your grade should be? Hey, that's the reason you said migraine is the first diagnosis. So, yes, your grade will be A if A looks like that. What's the grade? Z. Z. If you say migraine is the first diagnosis, your grade is Z, not even E. People who said tension headache, raise hand please. Tension headache. Fatigue headache, yeah, almost same. Tension. What's the grade? Okay, people said that GCA, raise hand please. GCA. Good. 4, 5, good. What's the grade? Again, 3 minus. Why not GCA? GCA happens after 45, 50. Doesn't happen at 30 years. Think, I gave you the age also. Okay, so no. But again, if there's a plab exam, if you say migraine is your first diagnosis, probably you will get A. But it's a plab 2 exam. If you say migraine is your first diagnosis here, you'll get Z. Why? What is the difference between a plab 1 exam and a plab 2 exam? What is the difference? Plab 1 exam, what checks is your medical knowledge. If you say migraine is your first diagnosis, you showed me that you have a medical knowledge. You showed me that you're a doctor. If you say migraine is your diagnosis, first diagnosis. So what is plab 2 exam? Having a medical knowledge is not enough. You should know how to apply that medical knowledge in a practical setting. When you're in hospitals, when you have patients in front of you, you should know how to apply your medical knowledge. Just having a knowledge is not enough. That is not going to save the patients. So now, as I told you, part 2 is a practical exam. Remember, practical theory, don't be theory master, it doesn't help. You should be practical. Let's be practical here. Imagine all of you sitting here listening to Swamy's lecture, and all of you started getting headache. What will you do? You take paracetamol. Will you go to the hospital? No. Anybody goes to the hospital? Raise your hands. No one. So that means all of you, what you will try is to taking paracetamol and probably continue sitting here because you have to listen to Swamy because there is exam. So that means probably this take paracetamol, but sit here, continue sitting here. But imagine you took paracetamol, continue sitting here, your headache is not going away. You still got this headache. Can't listen to Swamy anymore. What do? You go home. Take rest. Usually once people take rest, the headache goes away. All of you agree with that? Yes. But imagine you went home and you tried to sleep the whole night. You're trying to sleep, you couldn't sleep because you had the headache, and you got up next day morning also, you got still have a headache. What do you do? Then you go to the hospital or the GP, whatever it is. All of you agree with this? Yes. Yes. Let me give another practical scenario. Imagine all of you sitting here and listening to Swamy's lecture. And one of you started having a severe headache, severe headache, you can't bear this headache. What do? He'll go to the hospital straight away. All of you agree with that? Yeah. Yes or no? Yes. Yes. Good. Thank you for telling me that. Now, imagine you're in the hospital A&E department, working as an SH in the A&E department, you're seeing some other patient, Any nurse comes and tells you, doctor, we have a lady, 30-year lady waiting in the waiting area. She says that she's got a headache. Can you please prescribe paracetamol? I will go and give it to her, and you go and see her when you're free. What will you do?
You go see a guy.
You go and see her straight away. Why? You're diagnosed with migraine. Why are you worried about her? How many of you going to see us straight away? Raise your hands, please. How many of you will see us straight away right now? Raise your hands. Okay, fine. How many of you go and see her after maybe 1 or 2 hours? Raise hands. People do not raise their hand or both raise their hand. So we never go and see her. Tell her to go. Take her to go. Why do you want to go and see her right now? Sorry? Why you want to root this? You thought it's migraine. Why? Why do you think it could be something else? Sorry?
She's come to the hospital straight away, so it might be that severe.
That means no one will come to the hospital unless the headache is very severe. No one goes to the hospital unless the headache is very severe. So that means if somebody's come to the hospital saying, I got a headache, what does that mean to you? This is severe headache. They don't even tell you how severe it is. The fact that they came to the hospital itself shows that the headache is very severe. That means what is your first diagnosis? SH. Your first diagnosis should have been SH. This is being practical. Okay, so that means, will you go and see her straight away? Yes. That means here, your first diagnosis would have been SH, subarachnoid hemorrhage. Because if she has come to the hospital, that means that headache must be very severe. So that means you'll go and see her straight away. So that means, will you go and take history from her? Will you take history? Yes. Whatever you will take history, right? So you take history. Imagine you took history. You came to know that this lady, she is a known migraine patient. This is not the first time she has headache. She has headache many times. Yeah, she's been diagnosed with having migraine. Okay, so that means there is a past history of migraine. There's a past history of migraine. So that means, what is your first diagnosis now? Still SH?
Yes.
You know this is migraine.
I know.
Oh, fine. So your diagnosis, first diagnosis still SH. Now, before he came to know, she's a known patient migraine. What do you think the chances that you suffer hemorrhage? Imagine before he came to know it's a migraine. She is a migraine patient. What do you think the chances that she will suffer hemorrhage percentage wise? Less than 1%, 1%, 2, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, 80, 90, 100%. What do you think? How much you think? What percentage you think? Last time somebody told me less than 1% chances of hemorrhage. Yes, it is less than 1% chances of hemorrhage. That is, if you go on a street and knock at every house door. Okay, suddenly you have a headache. Yeah, you then go to the next house. Do you have a headache? Do you have a headache? If you go to every home and ask the people that you have a headache, if they have a headache, then the chances are maybe less than 1%. But we are talking about which type of patients who has come to the hospital saying I got headache. What is the difference between people having headache at home and people come to the hospital having headache? Severity. Severity. Unless the headache is very severe, they would not have come to the hospital. So that means what do you think is the chances of hemorrhage? More than 70%. That means nearly 70% of people coming to the hospital saying I've got a headache, that means most likely they have nearly 70% of them, it is subarachnoid hemorrhage. But here you took history, you came to know she is a migraine patient. Now, your first diagnosis is still subarachnoid hemorrhage, but what do you think the chances is subarachnoid hemorrhage? Below 70%, 70% or above 70%? Now it's below 70%. How much below? Now it is 95% chance that it is subarachnoid hemorrhage. Why?
because the normal guys.
Again, be practical. Don't be theorems. Be practical. If a patient is already been diagnosed with having migraine, that means that patient must have been having headache many times in their life. If a patient, a migraine patient, has to come to the hospital every time they have a headache, they should be living in the hospital. You understand? So when does a migraine patient come to the hospital saying, "Doctor, I got headache"? When do they come? If the headache is not there, you should headache. When they see the difference, they think this is not my migraine headache. They themselves know this is not my migraine headache. That's the time when they come to the hospital. That means what are the chances of a hemorrhage? More than 99%. That means the minute you know this is a migraine patient, then one thing you're 100% sure that this is not migraine. Because the migraine patient knows the headache. Okay, so now if there is a migraine patient, if you diagnosed migraine for this patient, what you would have told this lady? What would you have told if you diagnose migraine? She's already known to migraine. What would you have told her? You know you got a migraine. Why did you come all the way to the hospital and waste our time? Go home, take some painkillers, take rest. That's what you will advise her. And what will happen to her? She'll go home and she'll rest in peace. You killed her. But if you diagnose subarachnoid hemorrhage, what you would never have done? You would never have sent her home. You would have kept her in the hospital. You would have done a CT scan. You would have looked for subarachnoid hemorrhage. You would never have discharged. You would never send her home. So this is how you think like a safe person. You understand? Okay. Now, there is a lab exam question, so I did not go out of the lab. Remember, young patients' headache. What is your first diagnosis? SH. But why do you think, as I told you, this is a lab exam question itself. Why do you think the GMC puts these questions in the lab exam? Why do you think so? Because these are real life scenarios. A lot of patients went to the hospital saying, I got a headache, doctors diagnosed migraine, sent home, patient died. All these mistakes becomes a case, goes to the GMC for hearing. So GMC has got a lot of these cases. And they put these cases in the lab exam to see what? Whether you're also going to do the same mistakes. You understand? Now, why is the doctors make a mistake between migraine and subarachnoid hemorrhage? Why? Because migraine, which group of patients, which age group patients get migraine? Young people, 25 to 35, 40. And which age group patients get subarachnoid hemorrhage? Same age group, young people. It's the young people who die of subarachnoid hemorrhage or brain hemorrhage. That's where the confusion happens. You understand? So that's the reason James is checking whether you know how to think like a safe doctor. Now you tell me, when you're thinking of a diagnosis, what type of diagnosis you'll think of first? Common conditions or rare conditions?
Common.
Neither common nor rare. Which one? Immediately life-threatening conditions. Even if they are rare, they comes at the top of your list. Then comes all the non-life-threatening conditions. So that means whenever you think of a diagnosis, you should always think of immediately life-threatening conditions first, even if they are rare. Then comes all the non-life-threatening conditions. In the non-life-threatening condition, the common condition comes first, then the rare condition. That means all the life-threatening condition comes top of your list. As that even if they are rare. For example, imagine we have a 60-year-old man here who's got a severe chest pain. You want to take history, right? Anybody got any symptom? You want to take history. In real life, in the hospital, how much time do you take to take a good history? Any history? How much time do you need to take a good history? 15 to 20 minutes, right? Imagine we have a 6-year-old man who got severe chest pain. You want to take history for 15 minutes. Like, oh, you got chest pain. Oh, right. Where is the pain? Where is it? Where in the chest here? Okay, what time you had this pain? When did you start? What type of pain is that? So where does it go? Did you have the pain like this before? Did your father also have a pain like this before? And did you take it? Hello? Hello? He stopped talking. What happened? Dead. Why? Did you finish taking his position? Why did you die? Can you understand? If you do not think of immediate life-threatening conditions, you will start killing patients in front of your eyes. Yeah, your patients will die in front of your eyes if you do not think of immediate life-threatening conditions. That means whatever the symptom patients come with. Yeah, when you think of a diagnosis, what type of diagnosis you always think of first? Immediately life-threatening condition. First, you make sure this is not a life-threatening condition. That means when do you diagnose a non-life-threatening condition? After you rule out life-threatening condition. That means you never ever think of a non-life-threatening conditions unless you first rule out a life-threatening condition. All of you agree with me? Yes. Okay, so this is how the GMC checks whether you are a safe doctor or not. Think properly, like a doctor. Be practical. Now I'm going to change the question a little bit, not much. Imagine this is a 60-year-old lady. 60-year-old lady complaining of headache. Don't talk. Don't answer my question until I finish asking questions. Okay, 60-year-old lady complaining of headache. Okay, so take a seat and tell your first diagnosis. I want all of you to think of your first diagnosis for this patient. Okay, don't change your diagnosis because somebody else says something else. First diagnosis. GCA. 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 Okay. How many of you say GCA is a first diagnosis? Raise hands. Most of you saying GCA. Okay. Any other first diagnosis? How many of you say?
I would say CVA.
CVA. How many of you CVA? That's a stroke, yeah? CVA is the first diagnosis. Stroke is the first diagnosis. Raise hands. Raise it properly. About 10. Okay. How many of you say SH is your first diagnosis? Raise hand. SH. SH is the first diagnosis. Raise hand. How many say glaucoma is the first diagnosis? People say glaucoma, he himself will not raise hand. Raise hand. He looked at all, nobody else raised hand. How many say brain tumor is the first diagnosis? Brain tumor, raise hand. Any other first diagnosis? Okay, fine, good. Now, who has said the brain tumor is the first diagnosis? What is the grade? Z. Why? No, left hand. No, okay, fine. I'll come to that point later. But definitely it is it. I'm not going to tell you now because I have to tell you something else, then I'll come to that. Now, people who said SH is the first diagnosis. What's the grade? That again? Why? SH usually happens in young age. Usually, not necessarily. Usually happens in young age. And the CVA. What's the grade? People said CVA. What's the grade? Then again, because in stroke, headache is not the presenting complaint. What's the presenting complaint? Weakness, paralysis. Doctor, I can't use my hand, my legs, they can't move. Yeah, so headache is an associated symptom, not the presenting symptom. Okay, when I say presenting complaint, you should know the meaning of that. What do you mean presenting complaint? The symptom which they made them to come to the hospital. Present to the hospital. That's a presenting complaint. Okay, that means what's your first diagnosis here? GCA. Giant cell arthritis or temporal arthritis should be a first diagnosis. Why? That's not a life-threatening condition. They can lose the vision, which can happen any minute. And loss of vision is a permanent or temporary? It's a permanent loss of vision, which can happen any minute. That means GCA should be a first diagnosis. That means when you think of a diagnosis, what type of diagnosis you'll think of first? This is not even life-threatening condition. Emergencies. Emergency should be a first diagnosis. So I'm going to take back the word is immediate life-threatening. Immediate life-threatening also, of course, is emergencies. Even any other serious condition, emergencies should be a first diagnosis. I'll reframe that word. So when you think of diagnosis, what type of diagnosis you'll think of first? Emergencies. Always emergencies comes first, even if they are rare. So then you think, once you excluded that, then you think of all other conditions. All of you agree with that? Fine. Last thing, don't tell me anything until I ask you the question. "60-year-old man came to the hospital, is complaining of epigastric discomfort. Epigastric discomfort. He is on triple therapy. He is on triple therapy for peptic ulcer disease. He is on triple therapy for peptic ulcer disease. Okay, I'll repeat the question. 60-year-old man came to the hospital complaining of epigastric discomfort. He is on triple therapy for peptic ulcer disease. I want all of you to think of your first diagnosis for this patient. All of you decided? Okay, what's your first diagnosis? Perforated peptic ulcer. MI. CA of gastric CA. Okay. How many of you say gastric CA, gastric cancer is the first diagnosis? Raise hands, please. Raise hands. What's the said not raise hands? Raise hands. So we have somebody there. Okay, good. 2. Okay, so what's a grade? Z. Why? Why? Yeah, that's not an emergency. Even the CA, it could be life-threatening, but not now. He's not going to die now. If you miss the CA now, will he die in front of your eyes? No. He can always check it later anyway. Okay, he's not going to die in front of your eyes. I already told you, whatever diagnosis you'll think of first, emergencies. Cancer is not an emergency. Okay? So now, how many say perforated peptic ulcer is your first diagnosis? Raise hand. Perforated peptic ulcer. Raise hands. Nearly 50%. How many say MI is your first diagnosis? Another 50%. Okay, online doctors. What's your first diagnosis?
MI.
MI. Anyone else?
Perforated ulcer.
Perforated ulcer. Good, fine. Now,
It should be only MI.
perforated peptic ulcer is also life-threatening condition. MI is also life-threatening condition. Both are life-threatening conditions. So both are a possibility. But my question is, which is the first one? First one. First diagnosis.
He's already on triple.
So triple therapy. Company.
Yeah, triple, so that's nice. So it should be our.
Triple therapy, so less likely to be perforation because he's on treatment already. That's what he's saying.
It's the other way around.
Okay, fine. Now, people who said perforation is a first diagnosis, raise hands, please. Raise hands again. Good, fine. Now, imagine, let's be practical here. Imagine you're in the hospital, any doctor, any SHO. There's a patient comes to the any department. Yeah, this is what he came to know. He said, all peptic ulcer, triple peptic ulcer. He's saying something wrong in my tummy. Okay, so now, what investigation you want to do first? First, listen, don't talk. What investigation you want to do first? Do you want to do a chest X-ray to look for the gases in the diaphragm look for a perforation? And if that is normal, then do an ECG. Or will you do an ECG first? and then do a chest X-ray to look for the gas in the diaphragm.
ECG first.
I'm
ECG.
asking those questions to the people who said perforations of a diagnosis. Raise hand again. Raise hands. What investigation you will do first? If perforation was there, why are you doing ECG? You should have been doing an X-ray to look for the gas and diaphragm first. If perforation is the first diagnosis. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Then why are you doing ECG? Imagine if a perforation is the first diagnosis. Yeah, you send him for the X-ray, chest X-ray, and patients come back. Chest X-ray, no gas in diaphragm means no perforation. Now you do an ECG. What do you think the ECG will show you? A flat line. Right? He's dead. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. That means if two conditions are life-threatening, which one will be a first diagnosis?
More likely.
More the condition which kills the patient first will be a first diagnosis. Between MI and perforation, which condition kills the patient first? MI can kill the patient within minutes. Where perforation takes time, it takes hours. Perforation should cause peritonitis, peritonitis should cause septicemia. Septicemia then kills the patient, it takes hours. Whereas MI can kill the patient within minutes. That means if there are, for example, if there are 4 life-threatening conditions, is a possibility. What is your first diagnosis? Which kills the patient first. What is your second diagnosis? Which kills the patient second. What's your third diagnosis? Which kills the patient third. Do you understand? That's how you think of a diagnosis. For example, now you tell me here, 6-year-old man, epigastric pain. First diagnosis. MI. Second diagnosis. Perforation. Third diagnosis. Pancreatitis. Fourth diagnosis. Maybe. Or last. Gastritis. You understand? That means you should never ever diagnose gastritis to epigastric pain unless you have ruled out MI, perforation, pancreatitis. Unless you ruled out all these things, you never ever diagnose gastritis. Do you understand that? So you need to know how to be a safe doctor. This is how the GMC checks whether you're a safe doctor or not. The first thing is to think of a right diagnosis. Your diagnosis has to be right. If your diagnosis is wrong, especially if it's an emergency, then you're not a safe doctor at all. That means you should never ever step into the NHS hospital to work in the hospital unless you know the emergencies. Where are the emergencies you learn from? Oxford Handbook. Where? Red color pages. At the end of the book, there are red color pages. Why do you think the red color? Emergencies. Dangerous things. You should never ever start working in the hospital unless you know those pages. Okay, so emergency is something very, very, very important. Not only for exams, even for your real life. The first step is whether you're a safe doctor. Okay, so as I told you, the GMC is going to check whether you're a safe doctor or not. Okay, so remember all these things are again a lab exam questions. The previous example which I gave, a 60-year-old lady has got a headache. Okay, imagine the elderly people, they have headache. Where do they usually go to when they have headache? They go to the GP. And what does the GP say? Headache. You got headache. Why do you come all there to my clinic? Don't have paracetamol at home. Go home and take paracetamol. And patient goes home and keeps searching for the paracetamol, can't see where the paracetamol is. Why? Can you see what happened? This is the mistake what the GP is doing. And why do you think that that's question the GMC puts in the lab exam? Because a lot of GPs have made that mistake. So GMC want to see whether you're going to do the same mistake. And this is also a lab exam question. So again, why do you think again the GMC put this question? A lot of doctors send the patient home thinking of gastritis without doing an ECG, without doing a chest X-ray look for the gas and diaphragm, without checking the MLAs. You should never ever diagnose all these things, non-life condition, unless you 100% ruled out emergencies. Okay, now I'm not finished about the safe, whether you're safe, Dr. Todd. I'm not yet finished, but there's a time for a coffee break. So let's have a coffee break, then we'll continue again. Now I'll tell you where you can go for a break. You are in the second floor. We are in the second floor now. If you go down to the first floor, there's a restroom there, gents, ladies, everything, and also there's two kitchens actually. There's some